Janak, king of Mithila, was an ideal ruler. He was a much revered friend of King Dasarath, who, when he planned his yajna for progeny, sent not mere messengers, but ministers to Mithila to invite King Janak. Janak was not only a brave king, but was as well versed in the scriptures as any rishi, and was the beloved pupil of sage Yajnavalkya. Desirous of performing a sacrifice, Janak at one time plowed the chosen site. As usual, this was done by his own hand. As the field was being cleared and leveled, Janak saw within the soil a baby, divinely beautiful. Janak was childless, so he accepted the infant as the goddess Earth's gift to him. Taking the child in his arms, he went to his beloved wife and said, "Here is treasure for us. I found this child on the yajna site, and we shall make it our own." And she joyfully consented. The child was an incarnation of the goddess of prosperity, Lakshmi, and she was named Sita. When Sita reached the age of marriage, Janak was sad that he would have to part with her. Though he tried hard, he was for long unable to choose a prince worthy of Sita. Many kings came to Mithila, seeking Sita's hand, but in Janak's view, none of them was good enough. The king anxiously thought over the matter and came to a decision. Long ago, pleased with a sacrifice performed by Janak, Varun, the ocean demigod, presented to him Lord Shiva's bow and 2 quivers. That was an ancient heavenly bow, which no ordinary man could even move. This was kept by him as an honored heirloom. Since only a very exceptional man could be considered worthy of Sita, Janak issued this proclamation: "Sita, my daughter, will be given in marriage to the prince who can lift, bend, and string the bow of Lord Shiva." Many princes who had heard of Sita's beauty went to Mithila, only to return disappointed, for none could fulfill the condition. Led by Vishvamitra, the rishis from Siddha Ashram were proceeding to Mithila with bullock carts transporting their luggage. The animals and the birds in the ashram set out to follow Vishvamitra, but he gently bade them stay behind. It was evening when they reached the river Son. There they rested for the night, Vishvamitra recounting to Ram and Lakshman the history of the place. Getting up in the morning, they continued their journey and crossed another river, not very deep, and by noon they were at the Ganges. They bathed in the holy river, and the rishis made offerings to their forebears. They improvised an ashram there, performed their worship, cooked their food. After their meal, they sat round Vishvamitra, who at the request of the 2 princes told the story of the Ganges, which was as follows. Himavan, king of mountains, and his spouse Manorama had 2 daughters, of whom Ganga was the elder. Himavan sent her to the world of the demigods in response to their request, and so she dwelt with them. Uma, the younger, won the favor of Lord Shiva and became his spouse. Sagara, a former king of Ayodhya, had no son for a long time. With his 2 wives, Keshini and Sumati, he went to the Himalaya mountains and performed penances. Sage Brigu, pleased with the king, blessed him and said, "You will get a number of children and will acquire undying fame. One of your wives will give birth to an only son, and through him your lineage will be continued. The other queen will bear 60,000 strong-armed sons." Sagara's wives bowed low before the sage and asked which one of them would get an only son and which the 60,000. Sage Brigu asked each of them their own desire. Keshini said she would be satisfied with 1 son, who would continue the line. Sumati chose the other alternative. "Be it so," said the sage. Satisfied, the king and his wives took leave of the sage and returned to Ayodhya. In course of time, Asamanjas was born to Keshini. Sumati gave birth to a mass which divided into 60,000 babies. This army of children was well taken care of by the nurses. The years rolled by, and while the 60,000 grew into strong, handsome princes, Asamanjas turned out to be a cruel lunatic. He indulged in the pastime of throwing little children into the river and laughed merrily as they struggled and died. Naturally, people hated this maniac and banished him from the country. To the great relief of all, Asamanjas' son, Ansuman, was just the opposite of his father and was a brave, virtuous, and amiable prince. King Sagara launched a great horse sacrifice, and Prince Ansuman was in charge of the sacrificial horse. But Indra, in the guise of a Rakshasa, managed to steal the animal. The demigods regarded yagyas by mortals as a challenge to their superiority, and lost no opportunity of throwing obstacles in their way. If, however, all obstruction was overcome and the sacrifice was completed, they accepted the offerings made to them, and then he who performed the yagya got due reward. The king was greatly upset when he heard that the sacrificial horse had been stolen. He sent out the 60,000 sons of Sumati to go in search of the animal all over the earth, and to spare no pains to retrieve it. The loss of the horse, he impressed on them, not only means obstruction to the yagya, it casts sin and dishonor on all concerned. You should therefore recover the horse, wherever it may be hidden. Eagerly the sons of Sagara proceeded to search the entire earth, but the horse was nowhere to be found. They even started digging the earth as for buried treasure, and in their anxiety respected neither place nor person, and only succeeded in earning the hatred of all whom they met. The horse was not to be found, and when they reported their failure to the king, he bade them ransack the netherworld also. The princes did as they were told, and in the netherworld, or Patala, they saw the horse grazing in a corner of an ashram not far from the place where sage Kapila, who was an incarnation of Lord Vishnu, sat in meditation. The princes at once jumped to the conclusion that they had not only found the stolen horse, but the thief also, and they rushed on Kapila shouting, "Here is the thief pretending to be a yogi!" Kapila, thus disturbed, opened his fiery eyes, and the 60,000 princes were reduced to a heap of ashes. Indra, king of the gods, the real thief, had artfully left the horse here with this very intent.